What's going on YouTube? It's Crispy ENT. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and welcome back to the channel. Hey, if you have not already, make sure to go check out my Chroma Accelerator Harlow build that I posted a couple days ago. Hey, it's a super good build, but for today, I went ahead and took on the challenge of trying to get this Amon build going. All right, you feel me? I've been seeing all these things about, you know, melee this, melee that. So I'm like, all right, hey, I'm gonna try and make me a little Amon build, see if I can get jiggy with some shit. And jiggy with some shit I did. You'll see from the gameplay, it does not matter what we went up against with this build, we were able to take it down, flyers or not. And if you want to stay up with the latest and greatest here on the channel, make sure to drop those likes, comments, and most importantly, hit that sub button with the notification bell so you can get notified every time I upload a video. With all that being said, man, let's get straight into the video. All right, guys, here we have it for the Amon build. As you can see, we have 42 points put into Calamity, the red skill tree, and then we also have 7 points over here in cybernetics. Okay, I really do think that having these points in cybernetic to gain that additional elemental damage per stack was a game changer. I noticed that every time I pop my forge skill, that it's man, it just my kill skills come through, and that's when you really start to kill shit. You know, it's super good, it's super beneficial. So we do have 5 out of 5 on Gathering Storm, and for Destruction Engine we have 2 out of 5 on here, which is just giving us an additional forge skill damage and detonation damage. Okay, you will see that I'm priming these bosses for detonation. All right, so when we move on over to the Calamity tree, we have 5 out of 5 on Discombobulate, which is giving us 25% crit chance. We got 5 out of 5 on Tritanium Knuckles, which is giving us that additional melee and skill damage. And then we have Gut Punch. This is huge right here because our melee and ordnance damage have a chance to apply weakness to enemies for a duration. As of now, the duration is 8 seconds, and it's going to be a 60% chance for melee and 30% chance for ordnance at max 3 out of 3. But when we come over here for Will the Storm, we're going to have 5 out of 5 on this. And you know, you can kind of argue this, but I really went 5 out of 5 on this because I wanted to get that additional status effect duration. This weakness, weakening an enemy, is considered a status effect. So as you can see right there, weakness is affected by status effect duration and is itself considered a status effect. Okay, so we're gonna move right on over and we're gonna grab that 5 out of 5. Okay, this is also dope because, oh, and moving down to Forge and Steel, we're going to become immune to all damage whenever we activate our forge skill, which is huge. So I think this should be on every Amon build if you want to ask me, because I think Amon's in a state right now that you have to spec so much into offense that you'll see that his defense is going to be lacking. If you want to spec into defense, then you're really going to not be able to kill shit in a sense as essential as you would if you did it vice versa. So yeah, I do have that Forge and Steel right there. You can argue this build for mobbing and for bossing. Obviously for bossing, we're going to take the Force of Nature route. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But here, right here, Pyroclast, this is huge for mobbing because when you activate your action skill, this is basically going to be able to allow you to keep your action skill up the entire time while you're mobbing. Like, you can pop it once and you'll be able to just run around, and every single time that you get a kill, it replaces that duration, right? And you'll notice that the build is spec to where you kind of one shot once you pop your forge skill. You pop your forge skill and all your kill skills activate, and you immediately just start killing shit. You know what I'm saying? You start one shot punching everything, and it just keeps that duration going. So that's going to be that top half of the tree for you. All right, next we're going to go break down to the bottom left, and we're going to get 5 out of 5 on Berserk. If you want to ask me, Berserk is probably Amon's strongest passive when you're building his tree this way, to where you have the cryo damage. This thing is insane. You can see that whenever you activate your forge skill, he gets Berserk, which is getting that slow immunity, and you get bonus cryo with gun and melee damage. All right, and that duration is 15 seconds, and you can upkeep this with kills while in Berserk mode. So it's huge. All right, moving down, we have There Is Only Red, and whenever you kill an enemy with Berserk is active, you partially restore Berserk's duration. That's what I mean by, you know, it's a continuous flow of like non-stop duration. It's pretty big. All right, moving down, we got another 3 out of 3 on My Touch is Death. Whenever Amon deals melee damage, there's a chance to activate kill skills. Okay, so not only are you reliant on your forge skill, like, you're not really reliant on forge skill to get everything going. You know, you do have a 24% chance on melee damage to activate your kill skills. All right, and you'll see throughout some of the footage that does in fact happen. And then I forgot to even get down here to My Touch is Death and Horde Cleaver. You're gonna have to put at least 5 points on the board down here. So I have 3 out of 3 on there, and then I have 2 out of 3 on Rhyme Break. So when my shield breaks, I partially restore some of my health and I detonate, dealing some cryo damage to enemies around me and freezing them as well. So that's pretty big. Moving on over to the middle, this right here is what's going to be used for bossing. This is the Force of Nature. So you'll see when Onslaughter is active, the gun damage dealt to enemies will prime them for a duration and would detonate when they die and are damaged by a forge skill. All right, so that detonation is like kind of big. It's like huge damage, especially when you're spec'd into that melee damage. And then you'll see later on through the specialization tree, I have gun damage and action skill damage based off of my melee damage. So everything's kind of going to scale higher. All right, so moving on over to the middle tree, we have Into the Fray. I got 5 out of 5 on here. This is increasing my damage dealt and damage reduction based on my distance from the enemy. All right, so you got 25% damage when close, and obviously that damage reduced 50% when I'm close as well. So those are pretty good bonuses. I think everyone should also have this on. That way, you know, while you're kind of in their faces, you're going to be dealing that additional damage. All right, and then right below that, we have Harbinger. This is a kill skill, and this is basically increasing my melee damage and maximum shield capacity for a duration at a maximum of 5 stacks. Okay, so every time you get a kill, 5 kills, you're at max stacks of your Harbinger. All right. Moving on over to Force of Nature. This is going to be used for bossing. Like I said, you're going to be switching Pyroclast and bossing, whether you're going to be mobbing or bossing. You feel me? This is going to be your detonations. Okay, so your when your onslaught is active, your gun damage dealt to enemies will prime them for a duration and will detonate when they die or are damaged by a force skill. Okay, so deal as much damage as possible whenever you actually see that you've weakened that enemy and you begin to prime them for detonation. You'll see this kind of aura around them. You feel me? And then if your action skill is up, or if your forge skill is up, pop that forge skill on them, and then you can either completely wipe them from that, or you just run up and deal a couple melee damage, melee hits, and you'll get them up out of there with that as well. So that's going to be it for the Calamity skill tree and my cybernetic skill tree. Let's move on over to that specialization skill tree. So for my specialization points, as you can see, I'm level 76. All right, and based on these passives, this will explain why I'm spec'd into what I'm spec'd into. Okay, so for my passives, I am a gun, now with caffeine, groundbreaker, and bare arms. All right, so I am a gun. Action skill damage now benefits from increases to gun damage. All right, remember that. Now with caffeine, reduce action skill cooldown whenever a rep kit is activated. This needs to be on everybody's build. Argue with your mother. All right, groundbreaker. Non-melee attack damage and slam damage are stored. Melee attacks and slam damage deal bonus kinetic damage based on stored damage and consume it. All right, 20% stored damage for additional 5 seconds. All right, and then moving down the last one, bare arms. Melee damage now benefits from increases to gun damage. All right, so I have the melee damage and action skill damage being increased due to gun damage. Right, so when I move on over to brute, what does brute do? The vault hunter gains increased gun damage. Okay, so I started out getting 10 in brute, and then getting 10 in sharpshooter, 10 in runner. Okay, so I can unlock everything down here. I got my 10 in daredevil, which is going to give me my 2 passives, I am a gun, and now with caffeine. Right, I put another additional 10 points in the runner, which is giving me increased movement speed and melee damage so that I could get that groundbreaker. Right, and then the first passive for runner is bare arms. So the reason I put all the rest of my points over here into brute, which is just giving me increased gun damage, is because my action skill damage and my melee damage is scaling based off of my gun damage. So you'll see that I do have an enhancement that is also enhancing my gun damage. All right, remember, all of this is just scaling up my action skill damage and my melee damage due to these passives. So I'm just going to continue to scale gun damage everywhere else. And I noticed that when I started to do that, my damage has been insane, you know, if you can't tell from the gameplay already. But please, with all this being said, do correct me if I am wrong. All right, I've had some faults in this build. I've had, you know, some areas where it's kind of like, okay, this should be happening, but it isn't, you know. So hey, if there's somewhere where I'm just slightly tweaked out and I'm messing up at, please let me know down in the comments below. Appreciate you guys so much dearly for that. So that's going to be it for the specialization points. Now let's get to the gear, which is going to bring this build full circle. All right, it's going to bring it all full circle for you. All right, so here we have it, and as you can see, this is probably the weakest aspect of this entire build, because I don't have two real big fists and 1 action fist. That's the ideal goal, is to have 2 out of 3 on real big fists and 1 out of 3 on action fist, or honestly you can go 3 out of 3 on real big fist. I didn't even realize melee kills trigger a nova explosion for 200% melee damage. That actually might be kind of dope, you know, because you are already one-shotting everything with this build, so adding that additional, hey, hold on. But anyway, hey, these are the pieces I got, right? So I'm running a cryo wombo combo for my AR. I'm running a manufacturing state Borea, which is giving me that electrical taser for my second slot. I always try and run an SMG with a taser for that shock damage. The taser is one of the strongest underbarrels in the game, right? And then my main weapon that I'm running on this is going to be the hot slugger. All right, if you don't know what the hot slugger is, this thing is disgusting. All right, probably one of the highest dealing DPS shotguns in the game. All right, that blazing barrel on kill deal 30% damage for 10 seconds for a maximum of 3 stacks. So you get 3 kills and you're at 30%, 90% additional damage. You feel me? For 10 seconds. and that just continues to refresh as you get more kills with it. All right, so moving down onto the churned bilious hellfire. This is what I'm gonna be doing to help apply additional fire. I don't really ever have this out, but you can see that that shrapnel cannon is strong as hell. So you know, hey, if someone ever needs to get some fire put on them, I'm gonna light their ass up, you feel me? Now for the actual sauce on the build. I have not gotten lucky, and I can't fucking find for the life of me any firmware to put on this mega triple bypass, but I do have a heart pump and amp. Okay, you can argue that amp is broken or whatnot, but since I'm already using the shotgun majority of the time, that one shot, you feel me, it's helping out a lot, you feel me? But I do have those 3 additional charges. As y'all remember on my specialization tree, that 25% cooldown every time you pop a rep kit. So 3 charges, that's gonna work hand in hand for getting our action skill back like clockwork, right? Moving on over to the grenade, we are running the atomic swarm. This is gonna help apply those weakened states to those enemies. Remember that I do have the passive in my skill tree that I have a 30% chance to weaken an enemy with the ordnance damage. So with the swarm being what it is, and it spawns an additional 3 MIRV grenades on exploding, you basically throw it out as soon as you start the fight, and it's just gonna fucking keep breaking off into more and more nades and go around and do damage. So basically you can weaken everybody on the battlefield if you just kind of launch these out and let them tag everybody. You know, it's kind of like another primer in a sense. So I think that this goes perfect with the build, but as you can see, I have no firmware on it. This build really is missing out on a lot without those firmware slots, but hey, I don't want to keep holding people up for the Amon build. I got people in the stream always asking for, like, where's the Amon build? You know, this looks good, can you drop it already? So moving down to the enhancement, like I said earlier, you guys are going to see I have gun damage. This is not like the best enhancement in the game by any means, but I mainly have it on for that gun damage increase by 25%. And you'll see I also have that Malawan licensed parts have 100% status effect chance on the first bullet after reload. So I do have a Malawan shotty in here that I like to switch every now and then. If you know there's an enemy who's got just hella armor and hella armor enemies, then I'll bring this out. It also has that beam tosser, which is good for that boss damage. So yeah, you know, really play it how you want. It's very versatile build. But I have real big fist on this, and like I said, that additional gun damage is specking into my action skill damage and my melee damage, so that's just further increasing the damage of my melee outputs. All right, moving on over to our shield, we have the Spunky Swarming Heavyweight. This thing is amazing for melee builds. I'm probably going to try and run a variation of this on a Rafa if I can, but on melee, it consumes an armor segment to grant 100% melee damage. When armor shield is empty, it grants 50% melee damage. All right, this is huge, but I also have that Spunky, which is going to give me another additional 20% damage dealt, scaling with those broken armor segments. So this is a really good armor shield. It is only level 44 though. It's the best shield that I found in terms of what I want to do with the build. I don't have a level 50 yet. I've been farming my ass off for it, but I don't know. I just knew that this was going to be special when I got it at the level 44 on Harlow. I knew it was going to be special. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna grab it. And then moving on over, last but not least, our class mod. This thing is amazing. Probably one of the best class mods I have for him. I do have a couple other variations, but it'll require me to further tweak the build, and I did it and I didn't like it. All right, so I'm running the Frenzied Shattered Wipe. This is, as you can see, giving me additional passives all across the board, but Forge Waves now deal melee damage in addition to their other types. Melee attacks while Scourge is active gain increased cryo efficiency and radius. Okay, so I have an additional 45% cryo damage and an additional 25% elemental damage. Okay, this is a really good class mod for Amon, and as you can see, I have Action Fist on there as well. For those of you that don't know what these do, Deadeye is going to increase the gun accuracy by 30%. Didn't need to put this on, but with the Slugger only having 1 round, you know, why not? It's the best I have, so I'm going to take it. Real Big Fist is giving me an additional 50% melee damage, and then Action Fist is giving me another 15% melee damage. So as you can see, melee damage is coming in all across the board, all across the build. But hey, I'm pretty sure that's gonna do it for my Amon build. Like I said, if there's anything that I missed out on, if I'm missing out in areas where, you know, maybe just one slight tweak in this build goes through the roof, do not hesitate to let me know down in the comments. Like I said, I'm new to the Borderlands franchise. I'm trying to get this stuff down. All right, and I can't do that without you guys. With all that being said, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. If you want to continue to support me here on the channel, make sure to drop those likes, comment down below, hit that sub button. Hey, we're on the road to 10K. It's Crispy NT. I'm up out of here.